chasing the police every single day.
Henry, thank you. News Channel 5 Investigates first uncovered this tasing video from the Cheatham County Jail, and it wound up being seen worldwide. Now the two jailers involved in the incident face new federal charges that could have one of them locked up for decades. News Channel 5's Jason Lamb was in federal court for us today. And Jason, one of these officers is already facing state charges.
That's right. A total of 2 officers faced one federal judge today, and they both walked out these doors afterwards, free until their next court hearing. This video that was first obtained by News Channel 5 Investigates brought national attention on the Cheatham County Jail. It shows officers repeatedly using a taser to stun 18-year-old Jordan Norris, even though he was strapped to a restraint chair in November 2016. Norris was in jail on drugs and weapons charges when this all happened.
Asking, do you want me to do it again? And we got like a whole bunch of batteries we can train into you pretty much. Like we'll do it over and over till we have no more.
The TBI says Cheatham County Corrections Officer Mark Bryant tased Norris at least 4 times. One time lasted about 25 seconds. Today, Corporal Bryant, who no longer works for the Cheatham County Sheriff's Office, was arraigned on federal charges for what prosecutors say was his role in using excessive force and then falsifying records relating to what happened. He faces decades in federal prison if convicted, but Bryant pleaded not guilty, and the federal judge allowed him to leave without bail until trial, saying to us only,
"I'm gonna call my mom."
And Bryant presumably did call his mom as soon as he got in his truck to leave, with his phone to his ear, driving off to face his next court appearance. The other Cheatham County Corrections officer facing federal charges today is Sergeant Gary Olah. He is still employed by the Cheatham County Sheriff's Office, and prosecutors say he lied to federal investigators about Bryant's taser use. Live in Nashville tonight, Jason Lamb, News Channel 5.
Jason, thank you. Mark Bryant is scheduled to go to trial on his state charges next month. And another note here, Jordan Norris, the man being tased in that video, was found dead at a home in Pegram earlier this year. TBI agents were brought in to investigate.
Cop charged for horrifically torturing restrained teen with taser walks free after mistrial. Despite horrifying video of deputies strapping a teenager down and torturing him for hours with a taser, none of the cops are in jail. By Matt Agarist, February 17, 2019. Ashland City, Tennessee. 2 police officers who strapped an 18-year-old in a restraint chair and tortured him with a taser were arrested and charged with multiple crimes last June. The horrifying video was so damning that the normal process of sweeping it under the rug was not an option. Sadly, however, the trial for the cop who did the torturing just concluded last week and ended in a mistrial. Last year, former Corporal Mark Bryant was charged with 2 counts of excessive force under the color of law, and 2 counts of destruction, alteration, or falsification of records in federal investigations. Sergeant Gary Olah was also charged with 2 counts of making false statements to federal investigators for lying to them in August of 2017 and again in May of 2018. In September 2018, Sergeant Gary Olah accepted a plea agreement for 2 counts of making false statements to FBI agents in connection with the incident. He has yet to be sentenced. Bryant was facing a maximum sentence of 10 years in prison for the color of law charges and 20 years in prison for the obstruction charges, 3 years of supervised release, and a fine of up to $250,000. Bryant pleaded not guilty and somehow at least one juror agreed with him. It was a sad story on both sides, but the jury could not find that Bryant violated the existing jail taser policy as it existed at the time, said Peter Strians, Bryant's attorney. Apparently, savagely torturing a completely restrained teenager repeatedly with a taser was fine and dandy according to the jail's policy. As TFTP reported, the nightmare for the victim, 18-year-old Jordan Norris began in November 2016, when a SWAT team raided his home because he was allegedly selling drugs. Selling willing people a substance they want to voluntarily ingest in no way justified the treatment Norris would receive. After Norris was arrested, he had somewhat of a mental breakdown and began banging his head against the cell door. So, police dragged him out of his cell and strapped him in a restrained chair. In the extremely disturbing video, Cheatham County Sheriff's deputies are seen holding Norris down with a gag while Bryant sadistically and repeatedly deploys the taser, at one point shocking Norris of nearly half a minute. Naturally, Norris squirmed as 50,000 volts ran through his body. His movement seemed to provoke the deputies, who responded with more taser strikes. "Are you ready?" Bryant asked Norris, who appeared to ready himself for the surge of electricity. "Would you like to comply?" Bryant asked. Norris's response was inaudible. "No, you won't," Bryant said as sadistically tortured the teen. "Stop resisting," one of the deputies yelled at Norris, who was strapped into restraints. "You don't like it, do you?" a deputy asked. At one part in the video, you can hear Bryant tell Norris, "I'll keep doing that until I run out of batteries." Norris said he remembered deputies asking him, "Do you want me to do it again? We got a whole bunch of batteries we can drain into you pretty much. We will do it over and over until we have no more." For 3 hours Norris remained in the chair, apparently, all fine, according to the jail's policy. When Norris was released from prison, he was covered in burn marks from the taser. Somehow he made it through the torture without his heart stopping. Tony Chapman, Norris' stepfather, said he gave the police the benefit of the doubt when he saw his stepson's wounds. He thought Norris must have been resisting in some way. However, once they saw the video, it was entirely clear that Norris was in no way resisting, as he was buckled down in a restrained chair. I said, "Jordan, what is that?" It looked like he had the measles. And he said, "That's where they tossed me." I could not wrap my head around that, William Chapman said. Chapman told News Channel 5 that he counted more than 40 burns. "I was actually giving the police benefit of the doubt over my own child because I was thinking he must have been fighting back, he must have been resisting," Chapman said. He was not. When I found that he was actually strapped to a restrained chair, it was even more mind-boggling. "It didn't make any sense," Chapman said. When you watch the video below, you will likely agree with Chapman. What the deputies were doing to Norris with the taser did not make any sense at all. Why on earth would they choose to torture this young man repeatedly with a taser? Thanks to a post on the Sheriff's Department's Facebook page, we now have a possible answer to that question. The sheriff had a personal vendetta against Norris and took to publicly taunting him. In the Facebook post, the sheriff called Norris a drug dealer by trade and on the fast track to live the thug life. The sheriff even noted that Norris peed a little bit, while being handled by SWAT. Sheriff Mike Breedlove even stood by his Facebook comments, claiming that they normally make humorous posts after busting people for selling substances deemed illegal by the state. After he refused to back down for taunting Norris, the sheriff went on to justify the sadistic actions of his deputies by stating that it was necessary. He said his deputies had to taser Norris over 40 times because he kept flinching. Sadly, Norris was found dead in March 2018 in his home. Agents with the TBI investigated his death but never released their findings. His family released the autopsy report to News 4, which said his death may have been an overdose, but they also believe the tossing incident played a role in his death. It was listed in there, the autopsy report, that he had damage to the right ventricle of his heart. "We're talking about a young, healthy 18-year-old when these tossings happened," Chapman said. "Absolutely no doubt in my mind that this tossing incident damaged his heart from what was listed in the autopsy report." In the video below, you will watch what looks like a scene out of Nazi Germany. However, this is taking place right in our backyard. When police can claim that torturing a man, who is restrained in a chair, is justified, The time for radical change is long overdue. Now, it appears that the officers responsible for this sadistic madness will all walk away without any accountability whatsoever. Spread the love.
Now, are you ready? Would you like to comply now? Can I get some water? Would you like to comply? I'll go in a minute. No, you won't. You will not. Are you done? Okay. Good. So, are you out here? Do you want to go? Stop resisting. I'll keep on doing it, I'll run out of battery. No, good stuff. You don't like it, do you? Stop resisting. What we done?
Hey Sheriff County, this is Sheriff County COPWATCH. I am using any video here with under fair use if you have criticism, reporting, teaching, etc. And please donate. I do not make money from YouTube, and there are different ways to donate in the video links. Thanks.